Independent music, the triangle of musicians, fans and music professionals. This is Tim from the Indie Bands blog, and welcome once again. Who's on today? Let's go find out. Welcome to Indie Music Tips number 9, and this time we're having a look at working with a producer, with the songwriter Chris Marksbury from the USA. He's also a professional photographer, running his own company called CM Photos. Hi Chris.
Hi Tim, how are you?
I'm very well, and thanks for sparing me the time on this it's still quite sunny over here in the UK, Sunday afternoon, early evening our way.
It's raining here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, raining. My pleasure. Now, you started off a long time ago with a band, did quite well, and then you split from that and became a solo artist. But then you hit the dilemma that everyone seems to hit. You're creating your own material that you like the sound of, and then you think, well, actually, I want to tune this up a bit, so I'll work with a producer. What goes wrong when you work with a producer?
Well, a lot of things could go right. It depends on who wants to work with you and who you want to work with. Just connecting with the right people, Tim. It's I had a bad, well, it wasn't a horrible experience. It just wasn't a pleasurable experience. I didn't like what happened to the song that I had written and the song that I had playing in my head. When I worked with this person, I got the song back and I didn't have any connection to it whatsoever.
Was that naivety that you sort of went into this connection and thought, well, this guy's obviously got a good pedigree behind him, he knows exactly what I want?
Absolutely. Yeah. Right.
So you sort of what you're saying is that you need to understand your song to get that over to the person who's going to work with you, and then you're still in control of it.
Well, it's much like finding the right drummer, the right just making that right connection that takes it to the next level, which didn't happen for me. So I wound up getting a little discouraged and just thinking that I'd probably just be better off attempting to record my own music.
We'll come on to recording in a little while, but I think that's some sanguine advice to people, because I know that a lot of the bands that are listening to this series are they're new bands, they're just starting out on life. They've got some songs that they feel very comfortable with that really do reflect what they're doing. And your suggestion to them is, before you hand it over, make sure you know who you're handing it over to and work with them.
Just make sure you find the right people, see what they've done before, and even so, there may be somebody that doesn't have a pedigree and that has no track record, but really gets what you're doing.
Sure.
And it doesn't have to happen in a huge studio. It doesn't have to happen, if the person is familiar with your music, if they're capable, and if they get into a studio, all those ingredients have to come together.
Well, one of the things that I sort of get a feeling from, even as a music reviewer who's just happens to jot down a few words about people, is that there's this sort of starry-eyed, oh, someone likes us, so therefore we'll accept whatever they produce.
That happens too. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And you can get directed down the wrong path, very, very easily. So take each step very carefully and discuss it. Feel good about your decision, and really see what happens. If you don't like what's happening, if you don't like what you're hearing, then it's time to make a change.
And I think that's quite important because, as I said, even as a mere music writer, reviewer, I do get the feeling sometimes that the fact that I took an interest in it, that it makes me somehow important, but in fact it's your own music that matters far more than anyone else's interpretation or opinion of it.
And there are those artists that are just real hard to work with too, so you have to it's a very fine line, Tim, having somebody interested in you, taking the right steps, but also being a little flexible, being easy to work with. It's not an easy thing.
Well, to be fair, I'm an awkward sod, as anyone who's ever come across me knows full well. So anyway, thanks for telling me about music production. What about your the photography side? Not so much about your own photography business, which I know covers a fairly diverse areas from bridal to corporate to bands, but we can talk about the band bit as well. But I'm a young band again, and I'm thinking, well, actually, we want to get some work done here, some photographs that show us in a good light. Before they appear in front of you or come to you in a studio or an on-set session, what would you advise them to have prepared?
Well, at times location, the band has a certain vibe that they want to convey. Whether it be a room with a black backdrop with some dramatic lighting, if they want the city in the background, kind of get that together. Be on time. Most of the rates are dependent on how much time you spend with them. So,
sure.
Kind of have your act together somewhat and figure it out. And again, just like with the producer, find someone you connect with, find someone who's willing to work with you. A lot of bands nowadays, it's a tough business. Don't have a huge budget for production or for photography. So, find someone that's willing to work with you and within your budget.
Sure. And when they come to you or to a photographer, should they have sort of, I want these 10 pictures, and no matter what happens, I want these 10 pictures? Or should they say, we're looking for this sort of an image,
I would
and you work with it?
I would kind of prefer that. And for me, for my style, I like to kind of, I would like them to have some kind of image, something that they're going after, but nothing so set in stone that doesn't leave me room to be creative, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, sure. So they need to be flexible working with you. And the other thing you interestingly mentioned was cost, which of course is everyone's biggest bugbear in the industry today. What sort of, I'm not asking for your own rates, because your own rates are your own rates, but you're in New York or that sort of an area bound. What sort of rates are people needing to pay to get a good quality set of photographs done?
Tim, you mentioned New York, and the rates around here are crazy. They really vary from region. New York City, out here, I would say anywhere between $200-$500. I know a band that spent $10,000 on photography with a guy who's extremely well known, an awesome photographer, but they had a big budget. So, but I would say a couple $100 at least, and try to.
And that would give you what, a day shooting?
Oh, no, a couple hours.
Right.
And try to find someone who's local to you, so traveling isn't a big issue. I think I've done band shoots where I meet the band before their gig, shoot the band photos at the gig prior to their show, then stay for the show, and then give them everything. So they have live shots, they have some pose shots, and it works out great.
So part of it is about connecting with you and making something that makes you feel, I'm really interested in it.
Yeah, and then for me to do something like that, I go down, I'll watch the show, we'll shoot the pictures prior to the show, I'll stay for the show, and it's all good. You know, I love music. I love getting out there and seeing what's happening, and you know, just connecting with people, helping people out, and it works out real nice.
And if someone wants to book you, Chris, is that possible?
Absolutely.
And how should they do that?
Through email. I mean, I'm on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook, email, phone.
I'll drop the links below to your email address and your Facebook page. So if people want to get in contact with CM Photos with Chris, then a couple of links following. So we've got the production aspect, the photography aspect. You're also a songwriter.
Yes, I am.
Tell me about that very, very angst-riven process.
I've been a songwriter since I was a kid. You know, a lot of kids pick up guitars and want to be in cover bands and stuff. I was always fascinated with the song, with the hooks, the old pop rock songs, and the Beatles. I mean, all the stuff that the songs that were infectious and that you just couldn't stop singing. And to this day, every morning when I wake up, I get out of bed, there's always a song in my head. And it's funny, I'm just starting to notice it more and more. But it's these hook-driven pop songs that are just really catchy. And I was always just really interested in writing a song on my own. I could think when I was 11 or 12 years old, just picking up the guitar and coming up with little riffs and melodies. And to this day, it's just never gets old.
I come from a somewhat different position in that I can't play an instrument other than the top line of a bass guitar. So I was always about the lyric. But that aside, from my own perspective, I always thought that songwriting was about the moment, that actually something happened and there was a song. Do you feel that yourself?
It could be, yeah. I mean, it could be a chord that I pick up and play, or something, a memory, a word, a sentence, an encounter with somebody. When the seed is planted, when there's that little spark. And you say, oh, that could be a song. And then the creative process begins, and it's a magical thing. It's something I really enjoy.
And again, going back to my own perspective as a reviewer of music, I can sort of detect, I don't know how, but I get a feeling that I can detect a genuine moment, as in something that really resonates with someone, as opposed to a formulaic song. Do you find that there's a difference if you're thinking, okay, I need to do track number 14 for this release, so I'm just going to write it, as opposed to track number 1, which I'm really excited about?
Well, there is that, and there's a lot of different styles, and certain things work for certain people. I worked with a singer-songwriter, Joe Lynn Turner, from Deep Purple and Rainbow, very talented guy, a few years back, and his style and his approach was completely different than mine, but when we worked together, we would never get together and not come up with a song.
Right.
And we didn't, we could sit down and write 2 songs a day, 1 song a day, but always something came out. But his approach was different from mine, and I noticed that was one of my first early experiences with collaborating with somebody.
And that in itself is interesting, because once again you're bringing up that aspect of actually working with other people. I think as a creative, it's very easy to become isolated and to just say, well, I know the answers to everything and I'm going to make it myself. Whereas you're suggesting on probably all your answers so far, actually it's far better to work with people because it becomes something more valuable.
It's good for yourself. It's good for your growth process. To be flexible, to be somewhat flexible and not be so shut off. and to also not try to do everything yourself, to be a little more open to let other things in. And I found even working with Joe, and I worked with a few other people, he may say that one word that you go, wow, that was really cool, and that led you down to create another lyric, another chorus, or whatever it is. And if you hadn't been in that room with the guy and he hadn't said that one thing, I mean, it's a really cool thing to just collaborate, and I think it's a good thing.
So you've got your song written, and you're quite happy with what it's going to look like, and you're now thinking of heading into the recording studio.
Yeah.
What do you need to have prepared before you move in there?
I think before you should have the song completely worked out, all your parts rehearsed, and before you start pushing that record button and having to copy and paste and delete, and because I mean we started off with I did just start off with a 2-track recorder, then a 4-track, then an 8-track, and now it's infinity track.
Yeah.
So and I think some of the best stuff that I've done were with less tracks and better parts.
What do you mean by that?
Just using 10, 16 tracks instead of 100 mediocre tracks. Get 10 solid tracks. Work out the parts. Make all the notes count. Make it
right.
I think when you put together really solid parts, 4, 6, 8 tracks, whatever it is, and they all come together, it becomes this enormous symphony without 100 layers of the same guitars. You know what I mean? It's been said many times, but sometimes really less is more.
Sure.
A good solid 3-part harmony if you want to go that route, and work out the parts. Maybe have instead of trying to sing every part yourself, find someone that you blend well with. It gives a different color to the track. I would say for a young band to just absolutely rehearse and get the parts good, especially if you're paying for a studio. Work it out before you get there.
Good advice. And let's have a look at, and thanks for all of that, Chris. Really appreciate it. A guy with many years' experience in the industry, both as a performer, a photographer, and a guy who's put out material. So some sanguine points. But we're now in 2013. Where's Chris Marksbury now?
Right now I'm sitting talking to you.
Yes, but that's not the whole of 2013. It might seem like it, but it's not.
Well, we could do it more often. I'm attempting to finish up this CD I've been working on for years, man. It's the photography I've been real busy with, and it's kind of unfortunately taken a back seat to that. But I have 12 or 13 tracks, about 95% done. The bass part on one song has to be done over again by my friend Rick Austin, who's playing on that. Just little things here and there. The vocals on track 3 suck, and I need to do those over again. And I sang those, so I can say that they suck. It's not 100% yet, so I'm going to go back and just tweak it a little bit and hopefully have that out by August. It's called All About You. And as I reviewed all the songs, I realized that each one of them was inspired in some way by my wife, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to call this All About You.
That's nice.
Yeah, and I did have a few people come in and play on that. I had a great guy who played harmonica on one track. Did a really good job. Wayne Kessler and Rick Austin played bass on a few. All the rest is me. And on the next CD, what I'd love to do is have somebody different play on every track. And I think it would be great for me as a songwriter just to have that influence on every song and take it in a little different direction. But but it's really, really time consuming, and just be prepared. A lot of people can't stand the studio because it's real tedious, and it's just be prepared, the young bands, for a lot of time in the studio.
I understand you have an advantage over some of us and some of the young bands. You've got a studio in your own basement.
Oh, it's it's an old beat up Mackie board, that's fallen off a truck. It's bent up. It's been through 3 floods. A simple microphone. I use a $100 Shure SM57 and a couple other things. I keep it real simple, but it's really about, to me, it's about getting proper levels, mic placement, and performance. And first of all, you got to start off with a decent song,
I look forward to hearing that, and hopefully I can review it before its official release. So do keep me informed of that one, Chris, please.
I would love to have you listen. Thank you.
I look forward to that. Let's finish off with one of your own songs, which is called Insomnia, which somehow seems prescient.
Oh, yeah.
Cheers, Chris. Speak to you soon.
All right, thank you, Tim.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
She just says, what? I wish I had some pill. Send me right on, my chest might be ill. I take it down, she bring it up. It's just a bad nightmare, nobody really cares. Oh no, it's looking like insomnia again. I reach for the remote, nothing on but some movie about some guys in a boat. It's too late. A shark's gotta eat.